Well, hello there, and welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast, a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
My name is Guy Smiley. I am a member of the Boston Online. My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, et cetera, et cetera.
Did you know that Guy Smiley was one of my favorites from Sesame Street?
He was the newscaster, right?
Yes, He was amazing. I loved him. Super Grover and Guy Smiley. Loved them both.
When I was in college, my friend John and I used to call guys we didn't like Guy Smiley.
Amazing.
Like, you see this guy, fucking Guy Smiley over here? He's this fucking asshole. Like that kind of thing.
But see, if I was your friend, I'd be like, Guy Smiley, that's amazing, because Guy Smiley was great.
Yeah.
So I'd fuck up your whole thing.
There would have been the Guy Smiley of the Megan crowd and the Guy Smiley of the John and Dave crowd. The
Very
world
different.
of two Guy Smileys.
Yes, very different.
The Guy Smiley of two worlds.
Amazing.
Oh, we've already gone off the rails, kids.
Already gone off the rails. It's all because Evan's not here. Evan is off today, and all hell has broken loose already.
It happens.
It does. It happens. And speaking of things breaking loose, this week we're going to be talking about movies, and one of those movies is Twisters.
Ooh.
And over on our Patreon, if you're not a patron, consider joining for $5 a month. You get access to weekly bonus episodes. And if you're a patron, thanks so much. Over on Patreon, we talk about the original Twister. So things are spinning out of control. Woo!
Woo.
We also are going to be talking about Widow Cliquot and Oddity. So I am the only one of the two of us. I was going to say the only one, but really it's just two of us. I'm the only one of the two of us who saw Twisters, which...
Boo. Sorry. I wanted to see it.
Are you booing the movie or that I saw it?
I wanted to see it and I couldn't make the screening.
That is a boo.
That's what I mean.
So Twisters is the legacy sequel to the original Twister. And so it is a disaster film, same as the other. And it is directed by Lee Isaac Chung. And it stars a whole host of people: Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos, and then it co-stars Brandon Perea, Maura Tierney, Sasha Lane, Katie O'Brien. And then there's some cameos. We've got Daryl McCormick, Kiernan Shipka, and the best part of the movie, Paul Scheer at the very end.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, and Helen Hunt shows up for once.
No, that would have been incredible. But no, Helen Hunt does not show up.
Would have been even more incredible if they got Bill Paxton, because...
Back from the dead?
Yeah.
I know, I was going to say, jeez. I guess they could have digitally composed him, but no.
I was thinking of something more morbid, but yeah.
Oh, like zombifying him? Like raising him from the dead?
It's zombie Bill Paxton. That's crazy.
Zombie Bill Paxton. But yeah, no zombies in this one. So, but speaking of, let me give you the synopsis that comes straight from the studios. Kate that is played by Daisy Edgar Jones. Kate is a former storm chaser haunted by a devastating encounter with a tornado during her college years, who now studies storm patterns in New York City. She is lured back to the open plains of Oklahoma. It doesn't say that here, but it's of Oklahoma, by her friend Javi to test a groundbreaking new tracking system. There she crosses paths with Tyler, played by Glenn Powell, the charming and reckless social media superstar who thrives on posting his storm-chasing adventures with his raucous crew. The more dangerous, the better. As storm season intensifies, terrifying phenomenon never seen before are unleashed, and all of them find themselves squarely in the paths of multiple storm systems converging in the fight for their lives. It's a very intense description.
Also, I mean, how on the nose is it that it's like... He's a tornado influencer, basically. I mean,
yes, he is. So there's like the show Storm Chasers, where people chase storms. It is exactly what he's doing. And they're live streaming it.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're live streaming it on YouTube, and that's what he and his crew do. Glenn Powell, Tyler. So, and they're considered the rogue cowboys of this. They come from Arkansas. They are not from Oklahoma the way Kate is. Kate and Javi has started a company that has a big investor, and so he wants to test out this new system that he's got where basically they triangulate tornadoes to get information about them. And Kate is like a superstar scientist, so they're going to get her instincts of what is happening with the tornadoes and where they're going to go. And yeah, so basically you have this like slick, well-funded team, and then you have the rogue cowboys. Very similar to the original Twister, except the rogue team were like hardcore scientists. And in this one, Tyler, Glenn Powell, is a scientist, but the rest of them are not. The rest of them are just kind of like, woohoo, we're here for some fun, and we're here for wild driving and wild storms. Yeah. And so the film opens, to back up slightly, the film opens with Kate with her friends and her boyfriend. So Kiernan Shipka is one of her friends, and Daryl McCormick, who we saw in Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. He's her boyfriend. And they're out and they're going after a twister. They're chasing storms too. And all three of her friends and boyfriend, they die. And she's the only one who survives. And
Kiernan Shipka dies?
Kiernan Shipka dies.
Oh, man.
Listen, Kiernan Shipka is becoming the queen of the cameos because she cameoed in this and she gives a memorable cameo in Longlegs. Yeah,
she's still haven't seen Longlegs, so.
Well, you should see Longlegs. Longlegs is fantastic. But we're not talking about Longlegs, but we should because it's a great movie. So anyway.
God, Daryl McCormick dies, but he's so cute.
I know, he is so cute. But yeah, and it's like in this really kind of traumatic way where they're under an overpass and they're like hanging on and he's like, I've got you. And then he gets like blown away. And yeah, and then like before that, Kiernan Shipka is like trying to crawl up the overpass and like trying to get to it, like to higher ground, and she blows away. Like, yeah. And the first friend blew away. Like, yeah, it's kind of intense. And it's sad. And then it fast forwards 5 years later and she's in New York City and she's like very, very stoic and doesn't seem to have any passion for life. And then Javi shows up and he's like, hey, I need you. And then so we go back to Oklahoma and then she meets up with Tyler, who's like Javi's rival. And she really likes Tyler. Not at first. At first, she thinks he's like ridiculous and careless and reckless, which he kind of is. But then when she finds out he's got he's a scientist, he's got a pedigree and an education, she's more intrigued and he's intrigued by her. And then some romance sparks and yeah. And basically they're chasing tornadoes and a lot of destruction. So that's pretty much the film. So sadly, I did not care for this.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So the film for me has way too many similarities with the original. Like it's got the love triangle because Javi kind of has the hots for her, even though he never says it, but it's very obvious he does because he gets jealous. You also have a lead who's a brilliant woman scientist dealing with PTSD from a tornado, and you know, if you're not going to set it apart, really, I feel like you need to make it really compelling, which for me, it wasn't. And I did like that there are Easter eggs. Like one of the machines they use is Dorothy 5, paying nod to Dorothy in the original Twister. And then there's also some clothing choices that Kate has that are really similar to Joe, Helen Hunt's character in the first one, that were definitely intentional. And it's got some really good disaster set pieces. There's one scene that involves like a factory or a foundry that's got like lots of fiery explosions, and that's good. That looks good. And then there's another scene involving the destruction of a movie theater, which again also happens in the first one when you have the destruction of the drive-in.
Mm-hmm.
And in the original Twister, they're watching The Shining, and in this one, they're watching Frankenstein. So, which is kind of an interesting choice.
Yeah, I mean, what about just a different Stanley Kubrick movie? You know?
I know, right? Yeah. So, I mean, but the scenes look good when it comes to the disaster. That's probably what I liked the best. The problem is that for me, the cinematography looked fairly bland. And if you have an action movie that's a natural disaster movie, I feel like it hinges on the cinematography. And for me, it just didn't work, which is kind of surprising because it's filmed on 35 millimeter. But there's, to me, there was,
kidding.
yeah, which is awesome. But to me, it just doesn't look, it doesn't look the way it should. Like there's not enough wide shots. There's too many really tight close shots. And the editing is way too choppy. The tone is all over the place. I feel like this movie can't decide if it wants to be a really serious delve into PTSD and into climate change, even though they never say the words climate change. They never talk about that. And that was an intentional choice by Lee Isaac Chung because he said he didn't want to preach to people. I call bullshit. And I think it's a huge mistake. And I think it's weird. Yeah, and it's like, I like that the film is trying to show the devastation of the tornado, although the original Twister does that too. But yeah, and then they do that, and Tyler's crew, they're giving back. Like, Kate thinks that they're just exploiting people, like selling T-shirts and merchandise, but what they're actually doing is they're selling merch so then they can give away food to people and like blankets and things like that to people who need it. So I like that there's this kind of like charitable angle to it and showing the devastation of a tornado's impact, but like it just the tone is all over. And then it literally in the next scene, it's like, woohoo, we're going to chase a tornado. How fun. So it just felt, to me, it just felt way too jarring. There's a rodeo scene that I absolutely despised, but if you know me, that's not going to come as any shock because first of all, it's a completely unnecessary scene that wasn't in the original script. And then Lee Isaac Chung added it. But I don't think it does anything except glorify the exploitation of animals. So for me, it did not work at all. And I will say that this is a really good cast. Glenn Powell is probably the best one in this. He is having a blast here. He's always really charismatic. We were talking about him off mic that like, you know, he's been doing this forever and it really shows like in the best possible way. Like he knows his shit. Like he knows what he's doing. He knows how to interact with other actors in a scene on screen. He knows how to play to his strengths. And I think he's really the most compelling here and most interesting. And he looks like he's having a blast while still imbuing his character with an emotional core, which is interesting. Maura Tierney is here. I love Maura Tierney. She's always good.
She's great.
Great. Such an underrated actor. And I loved seeing her. And she's really good. She plays Kate's mom and she's just gives a really solid performance. But Sasha Lane and Katie O'Brien, who are both really fantastic actors, just are given nothing to do. And unfortunately, like we talked about this when we talked about Twister, how Philip Seymour Hoffman like takes a role that's like so tiny and makes the most of it. And even though both of them are good in their roles, like they're doing the best they can, especially Katie O'Brien, it's just not enough. And it just really feels like they were squandered, unfortunately. But for me, the biggest misstep is Daisy Edgar Jones. She's not good in this at all, at all, which I'm kind of surprised by because I've liked her in other things. And just here, she doesn't, like you can see like she's acting. Nothing feels authentic. Nothing feels like an organic response or an organic reaction. It just feels so forced and so fake. And it just was unfortunate. And we're told throughout the entire movie, she's so special. She's so special. She's got these amazing instincts. Yep. And she's so interesting. And so there's a reporter who's following Tyler and his crew to do a story. And then he decides Tyler's not the real story. The real story is this intriguing woman, Kate. Who is she? And I'm sorry, she's giving nothing on screen that would make you think like, oh, she's really intriguing. Really she's the story. So it's just, there's so much telling rather than showing, which is so annoying. And it just didn't work. So I wouldn't say this is a bad movie, but it just didn't work for me. It felt really, really tedious. And it's pretty sad that for me, the most enjoyable part, like I said, was the Paul Scheer cameo because it's just so absurd. It comes like out of nowhere.
And you said it was at the end?
It's at the very end. Yeah. So at the very end of the film, after they've done all the tornado chasing and her her solution has worked to get Dorothy in the air. And
They're
funny
still trying to
enough,
figure out how to get fucking Dorothy in the air.
yes,
This is Dorothy 5. You couldn't figure it out
I
2
know.
through 4.
But there's something else, because they're trying to get, like, I don't remember exactly, but they realize, they talk to somebody and they realize aluminum. We need aluminum, which it feels like kind of a funny throwback to Twister. But yeah, and they get her, and they get all the little probes inside up and all the things that they need to do. Yeah, and so they've done all that. They've gotten the data they need. They've endured a category an EF5 tornado, because the tornadoes keep building. The first one in the opening scene is a 5, and then it's like, we're going to chase a 1, and then a 2, and then a 3, and then the last one building up to the climax is a 5. So massive devastation, but everybody's okay. And then Javi, he basically tells his partner, the guy who he's working with, basically to fuck off, and drives off without him, because that guy doesn't care about people. He only cares about money, because Kate and Tyler realize they got to go, and like, they're going to save people in a town. And Javi's like, yeah, we got to go save people too. And his partner's like, no, I don't care about people. I just care about money, or some dumb, inane line of dialogue. And yeah, so anyway, everything's fine. Kate's going to go back to New York, and she's going to pitch to get a grant for funding. And then Tyler finally makes a move on her in an airport. But before that, Paul Scheer shows up as like the security guard at the airport.
Oh, so he's just a random guy.
Yes. Oh. Yes.
Wow. I thought you were going to be like, he's like some, angel investor and like some TikTok rival that they're trying to recruit,
No, he's not. No, none of that. None of that. So yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of, the production notes on this were very extensive. This is probably the longest set of production notes. Like, the number of pages is the longest I've ever seen for a movie. Like, it's about double the length of what I normally see for a big budget movie. And there's a lot of technical prowess. There's a lot of technical work with the tornadoes. There was a consultant who worked on the original Twister, who is the technical advisor of the tornadoes for this. And so there's a lot of, care and craft put into this. But yeah, just did not work for me. I found this very, very tedious, unfortunately.
Oh, that is a bummer.
Yeah.
My one question.
Oh, yeah.
Is the last movie that I was going to say Lee Iacocca. That's not right. Lee Isaac Chung. Is the last movie he did Minari?
Yes.
So he went from Minari to this.
Yes, he did. So that's an interesting story. So the reason he went from that to this, because Minari is such a very small indie film, really personal. He wanted to direct a big budget action film, and he'd always wanted to do that. And so he was really intrigued to do that. And he's also he's from Oklahoma. When his parents and his sibling moved to Oklahoma, they didn't know about tornadoes. And so like within like the first month or two of living there, they lived in a trailer before their house was built, and it was basically a disaster, and they had to get in their car and like drive away from this tornado. So he'd always been intrigued by tornadoes and always wanted to do a big budget action movie, loved the movie Twister. And so how that came to be was after Minari, he worked on The Mandalorian, and he directed an episode. And the guy who is the producer, I think it's Frank something. I want to say Frank Miller, but that sounds wrong because there's another Frank Miller. But he's a producer of this. He is the husband of Kathleen Kennedy, who obviously runs Star Wars.
Right.
And so that's how Lee Isaac Chung kind of came to be on this. So yeah. But it is a very strange path. And he's talked about that in interviews, like how it is weird. And he almost quit directing because he was making all these indie films for like, I don't know. He made a bunch of indie films and just, they didn't really go anywhere. And so he was like, you know what, if I'm going to quit directing, I want to make something really personal to me. So he did. But then because it was so
I
successful.
know how
Then
it kind of blew up. Yeah.
it blew up, exactly. So then he was able to do The Mandalorian, and then now he's able to do this. So it's, I feel kind of bad that I didn't like this, because good for him for doing something outside of his comfort zone. Good for him for having this opportunity. But it just, for me, it just fell flat and did not work.
I can tell you why it blows. Story by Joseph Kosinski.
Yes.
For those of you listening at home, Joseph Kosinski has directed one movie that's better than shitty, Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, that is a good movie.
Everything else he has touched turns to shit. But
Yeah.
Tom Cruise keeps working with him.
I know. Well, I mean, Tom Cruise isn't known for his good decisions, but although he's a good actor, arguably, I think he's a good actor. But anyway, yeah, no, the writing is terrible. It's terrible.
Yep.
Very similar to the original Twister, even though that's a fun film.
Yeah. I mean, I begrudgingly agree.
You know you like it.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, so basically this movie cements, and I already knew this from Anything But You and Top Gun Maverick, but this cements that Glenn Powell is really great.
Oh, he's the real thing for sure.
Yes. Absolutely. Without question.
Well, cool. Kind of glad I didn't see it. So
yeah. I mean, it seems like I watched a different movie than a lot of people, because I've heard people, who are like, this is so fun. This is dumb fun. This is great. I don't know what they were watching. I did not enjoy this, like pretty much at all. Like I said, except for a couple things that I did. But anyway.
Okay.
Different strokes for different folks. But let's move on to Widow Cliquot, which I keep wanting to call Veuve Clicquot, which, is not a surprise, because that is the champagne.
Which means widow.
Widow, I know. Do you know I took French for so many years and I did not know that? So anyway,
I never thought about it before. And then I'm watching the movie today and they're like, oh, is the Veuve Clicquot? I'm like, oh, and she's a widow.
Yes.
Oh, and then it finally hit me.
I know. I'm like, whoa, I feel dumb.
Yeah. I was like, it's one of those things that I've known it forever, but I never put two and two together. So
that happens though, sometimes out of context. But yes, so this is Widow Cliquot, and this is a biopic drama, and it is based on the novel The Widow Cliquot by Taylor J. Mazzeo, directed by Thomas Napper, written by Aaron Dignam, and it stars Haley Bennett as Barb Nicole Cliquot, and Tom Sturridge and Sam Riley. And here is the synopsis from the studio. After her husband's untimely death, Barb Nicole Ponsardin Cliquot flouts convention by assuming the reins of the fledgling wine business they had nurtured together. Steering the company through dizzying political and financial reversals, she defies her critics and revolutionizes the champagne industry to become one of the world's first great businesswomen. I can't speak. All right. Well, you've heard me jibber jabber a lot. So Dave, why don't you take this away? What did you think? What you can flesh out the film, tell us what you think.
Well, I think that this is the only thing that really makes this sort of a non-standard movie about business is the fact that it takes place during the Napoleonic Wars.
Very true. But and it's a woman.
And it's a woman lead, yeah. But this is basically like watching I had said Moneyball off mic.
You did.
It's like what movie it reminds me of a lot is
what's that?
A Most Violent Year.
Interesting.
If you take out the sort of like the New York is collapsing under a violence, that whole movie is just about selling oil. So this movie is about trying to keep grapes live and turn the vintage into whatever they can turn it into. And hope that the Moet people don't fucking try to take over your vineyard or vineyard, as they say in the movie, because she's a woman, she didn't fucking know anything. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, she almost single-handedly reinvented how champagne is made.
Yes.
So, which I knew that before I saw this. That's part of the reason I wanted to see this. I don't actually know too many particulars of the Widow Cliquot story. But I love the fact that her name's just Barb and they call her Barb. I don't know. I just, every time they're like, hey, Barb, I'm just like, hee. I don't know what it is. Because it's such a like not 18th or 19th century name to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though her name's not like Barbara, it's Barb Nicole. So,
Right.
Which is one name with a hyphen. It's very French.
But can I tell you, this is such an aside, but kind of speaking on what you're saying, I just learned from a historian that, like I saw on YouTube or something, that there are names that we don't think of as being historically accurate. So a lot of times they'll change names, but there's certain names like Tiffany. Tiffany was like a big name in like the 1800s or something. And I'm like, that's wild. Anyway.
Yeah. I love reading about like names that come back in vogue and stuff like that. Absolutely. Because I mean,
like if you had like a period piece and you had somebody named Tiffany, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" You know, like. But no,
exactly.
It's like,
but
yeah.
it's legit.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked this a lot. I really liked the performances.
Oh, nice.
I know that I'm pretty sure that you said off mic, you're like, Haley Bennett's fine. I liked her a lot in this. The only other thing that I know that I've seen her in is she's in The Equalizer for a hot second. Mm-hmm. The first one, she meets an untimely demise.
Sad face.
Yeah, sad face. I really liked Sam Riley as Louis.
He's great.
I guess the salesman. I don't know what you know.
Yeah, that's what he is. He's a wine salesman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I also liked the way. I kind of like this thing that movies that do flashbacks now, this has been going on for like 10, 15 years, but like there's no indication that you're in a flashback. It's just like you have to guess by what the hairstyles and the clothing and the things like that. And this movie does that countless times. You know, you'll be like,
it does.
Here I am wearing all black and I am turning the bottle over another 5 degrees to see where the sediment flows, which is if you've ever read about how champagne is made, and I lived in France, and so I know how champagne is made by and large. It's like, well, I fucking know all this, so can we get on with it? But it's still kind of fascinating. But one of the things that I think is amazing, though, and this should not be amazing, is that she actually says in the movie, Barb says in the movie, to one of the guys who's kind of a dick about her being a woman running the vineyard, one of the many people, but it's the guy who's the biggest dick, the one who like brings the suit against her on behalf of Moet. He's like, well, you know, if we move the vines the way you want them, like we replant them where you want to, they're not going to get any water. And she's like, yeah, that's the point. That's how the fucking sugar gets in there. You like, you starve the grapes to death almost, and they produce more sugar. And it's like, how does fucking French guy not know that? But all right. I just thought that was interesting that little tidbit would be in there. Because that's the thing you learn if you ever go to a vineyard. And so I just liked that this had a deliberate pace. It looks really good. Haley Bennett's lips are very full. I like that too.
Okay.
Well, I mean, she's a pretty woman, you know, so
that is true.
Like I said, I've only seen her in one other thing. So she played a Russian woman in The Equalizer, and here she's playing a French woman with an English accent. You know, it happens. I also like that the movie, the real Francois Cliquot, I think I read that his official cause of death was typhoid, but not really typhoid, if you know what I mean.
That's correct. Yep.
And they do that here too, but there's no indication that he has typhoid. It's just that he's loony. So, and I think that he does the looniness, considering how loony he is, it's actually pretty understated because he's always just like sitting on the ground, looking at the sky and asking, you know, Barb, do you think I'm crazy? You know?
Right. Well, and then he has a manic episode.
Yes, he does.
Where he starts smashing things and like drinking kind of erratically when he's like tasting. Yeah. So.
Well, and he talks about how like all the droplets, it's too loud.
Yes,
and it's
like,
okay, you've definitely gone over the edge, pal. And, you know, this being the 19th century, they didn't have mental health. Well, we don't really have mental health studies now, but they certainly didn't then. Another great thing about it, it's short. It's 90 minutes from top to bottom. So that means 83 with credits. And I got delayed in finishing this, and when we started the show a little later, Megan was nice enough to let me finish this movie.
Oh,
and
thanks.
yeah, that courtroom scene must have been what you were talking about.
Yes.
And you're like, you got to watch the last 10 minutes.
Yes.
And I'm not sure I've been, except for last week when we watched that horrible piece of shit noir wannabe David Lynch fucking movie.
I'm not sure. Block that out.
I'm not sure I've been so enraged by a movie just to hear, and not because I didn't like it, but because I'm sure this is almost word for word what happened. It's like, well, she can't run a business because she's a woman. I mean, fuck, she doesn't have a dick. I just like, and the way that she says, are men really smart, or are they just assured because they're men and they think they're smart? And I was like, yeah, you tell them, Haley Bennett. Fuck these guys. So, yeah. So if you have any interest in how, Veuve Clicquot is made, or champagne in general, and the backdrop of Napoleon going into Russia, even though everyone told him, don't go into Russia.
He didn't listen.
It's you go into Russia and it's like, oh, it's kind of cold here. Yes, it is, Napoleon. Yeah, this is fun. Napoleon never appears in the movie, by the way. This is all literally happening in the background.
Yes, that's true.
But this is, I liked this a lot. So I don't really have anything. I don't think it's like amazing, but it definitely held my interest for 90 minutes. And, I like a movie that does period well. This does period well. And a very small, you can tell that they were like, all right, we have one chateau. Even though there are, if you go to France, you can trip over a chateau anywhere. So I'm sure that, well, it's true. You think to yourself, oh, how do they film these like period pieces in these chateaus? There's like 16 in every town. That's how.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
although from what I read, Thomas Napper said that she really didn't leave the vineyard and the chateau, and so that was kind of a conscious choice just to film there because she was kind of trapped. I guess he said like trapped in a trap of her own design. So yeah, so maybe they could have filmed at other things. Maybe it was a cost decision, or maybe it was just the fact to show that she was like so consumed by this. Yeah,
I think that really played into one of the things that I have some friends who made a movie that takes place in a chateau, and the reason they set it in a chateau is because they knew that they could, if it was big enough, the one that they found to shoot in, they could pretend that it was like 6 different chateaus, which they did. But in this case, it really fits for the story that yes, she didn't really leave the vineyard. Right. That's where she wanted to be for whatever reason she wanted to be there. And so all of the things that are happening, it's really kind of, she's the conduit through which everything happens. You never feel like things are happening around her. You feel like she's making very deliberate decisions, but the news is always delivered to her. Yes. And then she reacts to it. Like when they lose all the bottles that go to the Netherlands, and she's just like, fuck it. We're going to be in debt. She doesn't say that, but that's kind of what she means.
I was like, she seemed a little more tore up about it.
She was definitely worried about that one.
Yeah. But not to the point that she was stymied. She pressed on.
She was always very, very, I wouldn't say that she was very assured. I would say that she projected assurance, even though she clearly has her own doubts about how this is working out at various different points. But I think that's a smart choice. So,
yeah, I love that you loved this. For me, this was just okay. I really liked Sam Riley a lot too. I think Haley Bennett is good. I just have seen her be amazing. She's fantastic in the film Swallow, which is such a great film.
Right. You've both told me to see that.
Yes, it's such an amazing film. So I know what she's capable of. So for me, this is just it's a solid performance. It's good. It's solid. I really like how the film focuses on her, obviously, and how she really stands her ground. She knows what she knows. She's confident in it. She doesn't let these ridiculous, stupid men sway her, which is kind of refreshing to see. But at the same time, and I also really like the way the flashbacks unfold too, and how we learn more about her relationship with Francois. But I have to say, there's part of me that wishes the film didn't focus quite so heavily on her relationships with men. I would have liked to have seen more of her interactions with her daughter, with other women in the household, anyone else other than just really Francois and Louis. I would have, and it's funny that you talk about how this is such a business movie, because to me, this feels more like a relationship movie. And I wanted more of her business acumen and her innovation and her inventions. Like, I feel like, yes, we see those, but I don't know. For me, it felt like the film focused so much more on the relationships, which interestingly, I wasn't as interested in. Like, they were kind of interesting, but I'm like, no, I want to know more about this stuff over here. Um, to me, the film spent far more time on the romantic relationships and her memories. And I will say that scene where talking, because you mentioned the depiction of mental illness of Francois, and it is quite good. But that scene where it's like the flashbacks are building up to when she walks in and finds him where he's, committed suicide. Like, oh my God, like that is so visceral and intense.
I had the way she starts scrubbing the floor.
Yes. But I also have to say, when she's talking to his father and she's like, we failed him, we let him down. And that's such a heartbreaking moment, because it really acknowledges that she understands that he was so sick and miserable. And I don't know what else she really could have done for him, though, because she was extremely patient and was very supportive of him. But I like that I like that we don't see her enraged at him because he's sick, because he's struggling. And also, something else that's it's minor in the sense that they don't spend a lot of time on this, but something that's huge that I absolutely love is I love that she enters the room in one scene in a flashback with Louis and Francois, and they're like kind of cuddly. And then Francois immediately like backs away from Louis when she enters the room. And then she says to him, she's like, it's okay if you're into him. And, she's like, I'm not jealous. I know you love me. And it's just like, it's so like, and I don't know if anything happened. I have no idea if he was queer, but it's just kind of so lovely that she's so open-minded about the fact that he might have been queer. And it's just kind of a great scene.
Well, and Louis says to her later, right before they bone the first time, he's like, well, you know what I am.
Right.
And she's like, yeah. And the implication is she talking about the fact that maybe he also likes dudes, or that he's a fucking like wine salesman and therefore kind of a slime at heart? I mean, which one is
it? Right. But I love that. I love that it's ambiguous and it works. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, I was also pleased, by the way, that Louis didn't turn out to be a total scumbag, because I was just like,
I kept waiting for that.
Because Sam Riley just kind of looks to me he's always about to do something nefarious. And when he goes in and basically like lets her make a fool of him to save the wine business, I was like, yeah, I like this guy.
Yeah, he was cool. He was really good.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I'll say is that you're right. This looks beautiful. It's filmed on location in France, in Burgundy, and it looks gorgeous. So very sumptuous looking, which is lovely.
Oui.
Do you have anything else you want to say before we move on?
I do not.
All right. But I love when you love a movie. It's so nice.
It doesn't have much. So.
I know. That's why it's like a nice treat. Okay, and that brings us to our final movie, the horror film from Ireland. Ooh, Irish horror films are always fascinating. Horror film Oddity by writer-director Damien McCarthy. This premiered at South by Southwest earlier this year. It's actually just played at Fantasia Fest right before it comes out in theaters. And it stars Carolyn Brackett. Hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Gwilym Lee, Tag Murray, and Carolyn Menton. And here is the logline. A blind medium uncovers the truth behind her sister's death with the help of a frightening wooden mannequin.
Frightening ain't the half of it.
I was like, that is extremely true. Yeah. So this movie opens with Danny, who is renovating a house that she has with her husband, Ted, who is a doctor at a psychiatric hospital. And she is there alone. And then she gets a knock at the door, and it has like a little slidey, like, like partition, so she can like see
kind of
who's
like a
outside.
speakeasy kind of thing.
Yeah. And she sees this very scared man who has a glass eye. And I mentioned that because that comes into play later.
Chekhov's glass eye.
Chekhov's glass eye, as it does. But yeah, and he's like, you were outside and I saw somebody, you left your door open and I saw somebody go in. You need to let me in immediately. And she's like, whoa. Like, what the hell? What is going on? And she's like, I'm not letting you in. I can't let you in. He's like, no, but somebody's inside with you. Somebody's there. And he's adamant about it. And he's terrified for her. And he's like, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to help you.
And he knows her husband. That's the thing.
He knows her husband. It's so freaky. And because she's convinced that, he's a patient or that he's stalking her, it's whole very, very creepy. And then she is about to let him in. Maybe, we don't know. And then it cuts to the title card. And then we fast forward and we find out that she's been brutally murdered, and her twin sister is talking to Ted. Her twin sister, Darcy, has been talking to husband Ted, and she's like, I want to get together because, it's the anniversary of her death. And then she finds out that Ted's got a new girlfriend who lives in the house. And yeah, so sorry, this movie is just nuts.
This movie is not what I thought it was going to be. Let me tell you.
No, this isn't. Yeah, it goes some interesting places. So anyway, so then Darcy, who is blind, and that also comes into play. She is psychic, but in the sense that she can read objects. So if an object like a ring or a necklace or something has touched someone's skin, she can tell you everything there is to know about that object and about the person who wore said object.
There's a second Chekhov's thing in here. Chekhov's bellhop.
Bellhop, yes, the bellhop little ding.
Yeah, whatever you call that bell, yes.
Yes. And also what I love in her curio shop, her oddities shop, hence the title of the film, is that we see the rabbit, the terrifying but amazing rabbit from Damien McCarthy's first film, Caveat.
Yeah.
Which is such a nice little Easter egg.
It's a nice Easter egg to a fucking, that movie is 9/10 of a great movie.
I love that movie.
At the end, it kind of tips its hand too much, I think.
That's fair. I still love that movie, but that's totally fair. Yeah. I totally hear what you're saying.
But seeing the rabbit here, the whole time you're watching that trailer, you're like, the rabbit's evil. No, the rabbit's trying to warn you.
The rabbit is trying to warn you.
So
rabbit's not evil at all. But yeah, so she's got an oddity shop that has all of these cursed objects. And so anyway, so she goes over to her sister's house and Ted's house, which is now his girlfriend's living there or spending a lot of time there. I don't know if she's living there, Yana. And she shows up unannounced, swearing that Ted invited her, even though he didn't quite invite her.
It was almost. It was like, we should do this.
Yeah, right. I'll get back to you. And she's like, oh, you don't remember? And she's like, oh, he didn't let you know that he invited me. And she shows up, and there's a crate that's already arrived before her. And inside is this incredibly terrifying looking wooden mannequin. And Ted is like, I can't stay. I have to go to work. You should leave. And she's like, no. And basically she wiggles her way in where she's going to stay. And then Yana is like, well, I have to go too. I have plans. So Ted's already gone. Yana's there, but then Yana can't find her keys. And Yana's really pissed off about it. And she's irritated because she doesn't want to be here with Darcy. And so then Darcy takes a nap. And then Yana starts poking around at the mannequin who's got 5 holes in its head. And she starts pulling things out like a lock of hair and a tooth and photos of Danny and Darcy. And then she pulls out a vial of blood. And as soon as she pulls that out, Darcy stands up and yells, "Put them back." And it's very unnerving. But anyway, then Darcy eventually gets her keys. She eventually leaves, but not before, I'm sorry, not Darcy. Yana leaves, but not before Darcy tells her, "Hey, you know what? This guy who said that everyone said killed my sister, the guy with the glass eye, because she got a hold of his glass eye because he was killed in the hospital. He was like bludgeoned to death in a really disturbing way, obviously.
In the halfway house, right?
Yes.
Wasn't it by the wooden mannequin? Didn't you get that impression?
No, that's not who I got. The guy with the glass eye?
Mm-hmm.
I did not get the impression he was killed by the mannequin.
What was the thing that the guy who lived across the hall thought was there?
Who drew the pictures?
Yeah.
I think he saw things, yeah, but I don't think that's who killed him. But
okay.
maybe it was. Actually, you know what?
That's how she got the eye.
No, I think you're right. Now that I didn't pick up on that, but I think you're absolutely right. So anyway, she gets a hold of the glass eye that Ted brought her. He's like, "I don't know why you'd want this," but he gives it to her. And now she's talking to Yana. It's just the two of them in the house. And she says, "The guy who everyone thinks killed my sister didn't kill my sister." And she gives all of her reasonings why. And Yana is freaked the fuck out. And Yana's like, she finally finds the keys. She's like, "I'm getting out." And then Darcy confronts Ted because she's like, you're the one who had the guy kill my sister. And so, yeah.
And then the mannequin does his work.
Yes. But after Darcy is killed or almost killed because Ted sets a trap for her and she falls through the hole in the floor and like bashes her head in, and there's so much blood.
Chekhov's hole in the floor, because it comes up in the first scene.
It does come up in the first scene. I think that's
the thing that what's her face, the sister, is actually, she's fixing that in the first scene.
Yes, she is. Yes, that is correct.
Fixed it a little too well.
But yeah. But then as Darcy's lying there dying, she manipulates the mannequin, and the mannequin then goes after Ivan, who is the orderly who killed her sister.
But can't kill Ivan because I think that she finally passes out right when the wooden mannequin picks him up to kill him.
That's
and
correct.
She's like, bleh, and she expires.
Yes.
And so Ivan wakes up in the hospital, and Ted's like, "You done fucked up."
Yeah, because he has him committed.
I know. I mean, I'm not really sure what I thought. I think because of having seen Caveat, I wasn't quite so sure. I thought this was going to be a lot more supernatural than it is, which is a strange thing to say about a movie that has a wooden mannequin that is controlled by a blind woman and cursed objects and whatever. But when you come down to it, it's actually a relatively mundane man wants to kill wife, so man hires someone to kill wife story. But it's got all of these like fucking bizarro supernatural elements. And we have forgotten to mention Darcy's the sister who lives sort of because she dies later in the movie. But what's the first sister's name?
Danny.
Danny is a ghost in the house trying to warn.
She's trying to warn Yana.
She's trying to warn Yana to get away from Ted. And it's really well done. The thing that Damien McCarty has shown that he's really good at is like giving you jump scares that are rooted in the story, that they're not just cheap, you know?
Yes, they're earned. Absolutely.
Because one of the first things Yana says is, "No, this is your wife's camera, and I took those photos last night, and there she is in that fucking photo." And he's like, "Oh, I'm a doctor, and that's fucked up."
And he's like, I don't see her. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I love that Yana didn't know about it, that she truly wasn't innocent in all this.
Me too.
Because that would have really been
I would have been pissed.
It would have been a bridge too far. And I also love that she gets out alive.
She gets out alive, and then I love that she tells him off, and she's like, she leaves a message, stop fucking calling me.
I love that.
She's like, I don't want to talk to
you
you.
want me to come back to a home where not one, but 2 people have been brutally murdered. No, never call me again.
Thank you, Yana, for being a smart person.
Yeah. But also, what was I going to say? Crumbs. It was about blah, 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 the script. It was about how everything in this has a purpose that is beyond just a jump scare. Like, even though when Darcy is telling Ted the story about the bell, and she tells the bellhop story, you know that's going to come up later. Like, you just know it. You know it's
100%.
You know, but I love, this is what I was thinking of. I love that the movie makes a whole point of him being like, "Oh, I'm rational. I believe in science. Your store, Darcy, is so funny and weird. Haha." But she's planted just enough doubt in his mind, and he's heard just enough stories from the other people who have survived that he's like, And she sent him this bell,
at the very end. Yes.
Yes, she sent it to him. Before she died, you can tell she sent it as a just in case, and it's arrived, and he takes it out, and she's told him at the beginning of the movie, don't ring that fucking bell. Don't ring the bell. And he's like,
he has to tempt fate. He can't not.
I'm going to ring the bell. And then he rings the bell and nothing happens. And then you hear a noise and then nothing happens. And he's like, psh, nothing's going to happen. And then it cuts to a wide shot of this dead bellhop standing next to him. Which is the final shot of the movie. And it's just like, oh, Ted, you should have known. You should have just taken that bell and removed the bell and then taped the little dinger part so that couldn't,
accidentally be dinged. Yes.
Yeah. I really liked this a lot. I was surprised by how much it surprised me.
Nice.
Because I thought, having seen the trailer, because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that I had seen the trailer and you were like, ooh, I want to see Oddity. Don't tell me about it. And I think I accidentally told you something.
That happens.
Yeah. I just remember watching this trailer and being like, I don't know what the fuck this movie's about. It's a ghost story, I think, but I'm not sure. And it is sort of.
It is, yeah.
But it's really more, it's kind of a revenge story in a way.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is a revenge story.
Yeah. And I also, even though we're not sure what happens to Ivan exactly, we do know that somebody bites a couple of his toes off.
Yes.
At the very least.
Yes. One of the other patients is a cannibal.
Yeah.
Or has cannibalistic tendencies.
And Ted has purposely let him loose. So.
Yeah. Not creepy at all.
No.
Ted's an asshole. That's an understatement. Since he tried to kill his wife. Actually, he did kill his wife.
Kill his wife.
Yeah. It was like, well, he hires me, but still, yes, he killed her. And I love that. I love that Darcy's like, why didn't you just tell her you didn't love her and you didn't want to be with her? And he's like, oh, and later because Ivan asked the same thing, and he's like, oh, well, she never would have gotten over me. I'm like, wow, you're an egotistical fucko.
Yeah, no kidding.
But that's not even what it had to do with. It had to do with he put too much money into the house and didn't want to lose the house.
Yeah, why don't you just keep having an affair quietly? Although Yana doesn't seem like she would have gone along with that.
No, Yana would never have gone for that.
Yana had too much integrity, even though she was a little bit of a dickhead.
She's a jerk, but she's kind of
amazing. But she's not a bad person.
No. She's just like abrasive.
Although I'm not sure how I would have reacted if my,
that's a good point.
My boyfriend's dead wife's sister showed up blind,
with weird objects,
white-haired, bringing a wooden mannequin into the house.
Yeah.
Which she doesn't even want to be in anyway. She says that more than once. She's like, I don't like being here alone.
No, it is creepy.
And I also like how when she finds the keys, you're not sure exactly how they got there, but you're pretty sure that the ghost, the sister, the dead sister, left him there for her to get out. That's what I think.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, there's really no indication that she can move stuff around, but there's no indication that she can't.
That's true.
She is there trying to very explicitly warn Yana to leave.
Yes, very much so, because she tells her to run.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And she looks all ghosty and creepy. Good makeup.
It is good. Yeah, I'm so excited that you like this. I really liked this too. I thought this was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice slow burn too.
Yeah, I love how eerie it is and creepy, and it's just oozing with atmosphere, and it's really, really tense. I also really liked the usage of space in the house and the usage of light and like the lights going on and off and how the camera is used.
I'll tell you,
I think
that house is enormous, but it has no space inside the way it's set up.
Yes.
And that's a really smart choice.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I think the performances are really great. I love that opening scene. That opening scene is so creepy and unnerving.
And he really was just trying to warn her, and somebody did run into the house.
I feel so bad, but I love the way we find out that somebody actually did. Like, I love that she's looking on her camera because she's had her camera set up to like go off every like, I don't know, 10 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever it is, to automatically take photos. And I love how she's like, click, click, click. And then all of a sudden you see a guy standing there with a white mask on. It is so freaky. And I love that. And I also love like great editing. I also love the scene where the flashback where you see Danny in the tent and she's like unzipped it. And then all of a sudden you see the guy there with the white mask. And then you see the wide shot of them both like in profile. And then it like cuts. And then you see blood splatter all over the tent. And it's just so creepy, but so well done. It's so well done. I think this is such a great film. And the scenes are just so like disturbing. I also really liked how Darcy didn't let people boss her around about her sister, and she just kind of like wiggled her way into the house. And I love that this is like an unconventional revenge story. I think it's really cool. Yeah, I really liked this. I don't know if I have much more to say other than that. Like, this is really well done. Great visuals, great performances, very intentional in its direction and atmosphere. Loved it. I thought it was such a good, creepy film.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
Yeah, and Caveat is such a great film too. But yeah, this one's so good.
Just try not to get freaked out by the rabbit. He's actually on your side.
I know. That rabbit is kind of cute and also terrifying.
Yeah.
All at once at the same time. It's kind of funny because the mannequin is really the same way. Like, the mannequin is horrifying to look at, but is also protective.
I love how the mannequin moves where the action is. Like, I don't know what the explanation could be for that, because clearly Darcy can control the mannequin.
Right.
But every time the mannequin is aware of an action that you are responsible for, it turns and looks in your direction. But of course, while you're not looking at it. So when you look back, it's doing that thing where it's like, wait a minute, is this thing following me?
Well, that's like that great scene where Yana is like upstairs and then she looks down because it's like a catwalk around the room, and she looks down and the mannequin's like looking up and the mannequin's mouth is always open. So it looks like he's like screaming at her. Oh, and then she drops her phone. Oh, gives me the willies.
Yep.
All right, well, let's do a recap. So Twisters is playing in theaters now. I think you can skip it. I don't think you need to see it. It's probably going to make a ton of money, and a lot of people are going to go see it regardless of what I say. And if you really want to see it, don't let me or anyone else stop you. But I didn't care for this, and I think you can skip it. I almost said Veuve Clicquot again. Widow Clicquot is also in theaters right now. And Dave, I think it's safe to say you would recommend it, right?
Yeah, I would recommend this, yeah.
Yeah, I also think this is worth watching. I don't know if you need to race out to see it, but definitely a solid film and worth watching. And Oddity is also playing in theaters right now. And I would definitely recommend this.
Absolutely. This is a big yes. Go on date night. Take a date. Yeah.
Ooh, that's how you can know if your date is a good date. Can they hang with you when you're watching a horror movie? Yeah. Can they handle Oddity?
Because anybody can handle The Shining. Can you handle Oddity?
That's really the litmus test, and I love that.
You got to make your horror a little more weird, you know?
Listen, I'm here for that. As somebody who took a date brought a date to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I concur. That's not even weird.
You're my hero.
That's just a great one. Yeah. Aw, thanks.
That is such a great movie.
It is so great. I was like, listen, I got a ticket and I'm not going to miss out on it. Do you want to come with me? Okay, let's go.
Absolutely.
Great movie. Yeah. So we want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Peace Patron, Heather Sachs. Heather, thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather.
And we want to give, while we're giving thank yous, we want to give a huge thank you to our amazing editor, Otto Clamor. Otto, thanks for making us sound great week after week.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. You can also find us at our website, spoilerpiece.com. You can also follow us on social media. We're at Spoiler Piece on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook, and we're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads. So come follow us, come say hello. Let us know what you think of these movies. Are you interested in them? Did you like them? Let us know. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can also email us, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
Leave us a voicemail message. Text us. Let us know, Megan, you're dead wrong about Twisters. It's a brilliant masterpiece. Or let us know you did take a date to Oddity, and let us know, did they like it? We want to know. We want to know all these things. But we love hearing from you. And if you like the show, please consider rating and reviewing us. It really helps us out. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, take you to your preferred platform of choice. You can also rate us directly on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. And if you really, really like the show and you're not already a patron, consider joining. For $5 a month, you get access to weekly bonus episodes and you get to vote in monthly polls. This week, we talked about the 1996 movie Twister, and we had a great time talking about it. Talked a lot about a lot of different facets of that movie. So if you're a patron, go check it out. And if you're not, consider joining. You can also rock our merch. If you go to our website, we have a TeePublic store, and we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, tote bags, pillows, the whole shebang. And you can show off your Spoiler Piece love.
Yeah.
Things are getting weird here. Actually, they already were weird. My name is Megan Kearns. I write for Edge Media Network. I also am a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at OpinionS World, or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The OpinionS.
And my name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. And you can follow me on all the socials, whatever you find. Dave sees movies, it's probably me.
All right. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.